Hello and welcome to the Green Profit Academy Pros Podcast. This show digs into the challenges in growing a lawn care and landscape business while maximizing your profit. I'm Christine Era.
And I'm Steve Bousquet. We are the green industry experts in profit, growth, and leadership. Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's podcast. Today we have a guest on, Ben Stimler. He is from the One Thing Marketing. Stimler. I knew I was going to say that wrong. I even practiced before the show. Thank you for correcting me, Ben. One Thing Marketing. And Ben, where are you guys located?
We are in Louisville, Kentucky.
Awesome. That's where the GIE is, or now it's called the Equipment Expo. That's happening almost every October. It's the biggest show in the green industry expo. So Ben, tell us a little bit about you. We were sharing before the show that you're from New York originally.
Yes, I'm from New York. I spent almost what seems like a lifetime there, born and raised in the city. Lived in Brooklyn for quite a while after being in Manhattan, and then lived married my Louisvillian wife, started a family, and we outgrew the city confines. So we came back to Louisville there, and here I am.
Louisville is a wonderful area. They got some great sports teams. The Bourbon Trail is right there.
There's a lot of neat stuff here. A lot of outdoor stuff, which I have not been had access to before. So it's great. Yeah,
definitely not a lack of stuff to do in that Louisville area. Well, today we're going to be talking about one of my favorite subjects besides profit first. My next probably favorite subject is marketing. And if you followed our podcast, you know that. And we're going to kind of dive into like one of the biggest challenges people have had over the years is like, how do we get more business? How do we grow more business? But not just any business. The most important thing about business is getting the right business and the right clients, and also getting the kind of work that gives us the highest gross profit margin, which means that we have to market. We have to market really with the correct tools at the right time. Ben's going to talk about what his company does and why they do what they do. So tell us a little bit about what your company does and why they do that.
Sure. So One Thing Marketing has been in business for about 10 years. We started off really focusing on website design, builds, and SEO optimization, all that exciting stuff. But that is the last touch point that most folks have before they're making a transaction. If you're looking for a trade or home service business to come out, you're typically going to Google at some point. Even if you've read something on Nextdoor or whatever it is, you're going to Google to find that business. So then you're coming to the website. The website's got to look reputable. It's also got to function really well. So we focus on that, but we also have over the years evolved to focus on really a holistic marketing strategy where we really want to work with your company as essentially a chief marketing officer when you work with us, so that we're looking at all of your strategy or all of your marketing strategies. We can work with you on just the website, on just the SEO. We can do that. But we like to work with folks. We have the knowledge to try to dig deep down into your business from a marketing perspective. How can we help you grow? How can we get more calls to come in? How can we get more emails coming in? How are your folks dressing in the field? How are you answering the phones? We look at all of the points, all the data that's coming in, and try to make suggestions. There's a lot of transparency with the data that we then are able to collect, and just try to guide you down a path that will lead you to growth. And we've had a great success record doing that.
And your role, your position at One Thing Marketing is?
I'm the director of partnership development.
Awesome. So from what I'm hearing, you're not just a website company. You're really that holistic chief marketing officer role in a company. And most companies can't afford a full-time chief marketing officer. So you're able to step in and kind of take that and be the eyes and ears, and also the kind of the engagement officer in that, making sure that things are being paid attention to and they're happening when they're supposed to happen.
That's correct. We want to come in and we don't just want to be doing one thing necessarily. We want to try to, where you might have to pay $120,000 for the chief marketing officer, we can, work with you, package that into how we're working with you, and we want to, make sure that we're looking at all the things that a chief marketing officer would be looking at in order to grow your business.
Right. So, a lot of times in the green industry, and I know your company focuses on home services, which is the green industry, it matches up, it aligns perfectly. A lot of times people will be like, what? I'm doing some marketing. What's the postcard I should send out? Or should I run a Facebook ad? And that's an advertisement. That's not technically marketing. That's a part of marketing, but that's just that's a slice of bread and a loaf of bread, right? Marketing is the whole kitchen, really. So it gets people. So you're talking about a much larger, this is like going on
more
for years.
Strategic, yeah. Exactly. And to your point, they're going on. I mean, this is really, what is our long-term focus? What is our long-term strategy? This is not, let's buy a Facebook ad and see how many leads we can, or calls or branding presence or whatever we can build for this month. You know what I'm saying? This is something that is hopefully ongoing.
Right.
We are working on, let's say, in one scenario, we're working on a website with you where we're rebranding and restructuring and re-optimizing for Google the entire site. Now we're doing that so that your Google rankings, in part, are going to be increasing up and up and up and up over time. It's not going to be in 2 weeks. It's not going to be in 8 weeks. It may take 6 months. It may take a year in some cases. But over time, if we continue efforts on these, strategies that we haven't even completely touched on yet, you're going to see increased business. When someone now, I usually, when I talk with trade and home services, I give the example of, someone needing to go to Google because their HVAC, their cooling is down when it's 97 degrees and it's 8 in the morning and on Saturday. And where are they going to go? They may go to a next door, they may go somewhere, but ultimately they're going to go to a Google and they're going to search and they're going to look at the reviews and they're going to see what's near them. They're going to see what's in the area. And then they're going to click and they're going to go to the website and they're going to see how nice the website looks and how clean and clear the website looks. And all of that goes together. And the culmination of all those things together leads them to make the phone call to you. And then it's up to the business to transact that. Similarly with the lawn care business, say it's the off season, someone wants to get ahead. Well, you don't want to just be functioning in like a transactional space where you're thinking like, oh yeah, well it's the beginning of the season and I need to start having my lawn mowed. And so, or that's what the clients are thinking. And so let me get some ads real quick to throw out there to bring clients in right then and there. That may be fine and part of a strategy, but you also want to get them in the off season. You want to make sure that when people are looking to set these things up, that you're there in Google and have the rankings there. So this is an ongoing strategic marketing outlook that we try to typically have at One Thing.
Yeah, and it's interesting. It's changed over the years. 40 years ago, when I started my lawn and landscape business, to save money, people used to have their phone disconnected from November until about April to save on their phone bill. Now you can't do any of that. And really, about 1/3 of your new customers are going to be doing research. They're going to be researching you in the fall of the previous year before they hire you in the spring. 1/3 of the people will research you before the spring starts, and 1/3 will wait till spring starts before they call you. So you have the really early adopters, and then the late adopters, right? So if you're not in the game and ready and on that market, you're going to be missing about up to 2/3 of your opportunity to grow your business. So that's why you really need to be in front of people all the time. And that's why marketing is so important. And, the other thing is being in front of the right people with the right message. And I think it's important that you pointed out it could take up to 6 months or 8 months on Google, because sure, you could throw a lot of material on Google, a lot of content, and get a lot of hits and just chase bad leads. But really, you want to make sure that you're putting the right type of content to attract the clients that you want with the services that you want. And, we've been working this year, especially more this year, to tighten up, our keywords, our long tail keyword phrases, our market, where our area is, and to reduce how many leads that we're running on Google, and also our closing ratio off of those Google leads. And you mentioned data. When you're working with someone and you can track that, it's a powerful tool when you start to look at that data and say, but it's not instant. This takes time, and it takes someone, you have to know how to look at that. I'm a Google geek. I do so much marketing data and so much research. I love my Google Analytics account. If you're not spending, you shouldn't probably be spending 2 to 4 hours a week in your Google Analytics account. But sometimes it's just so much fun to get in there and play around with it. You know what I'm saying, right? Once you start, it's a rabbit hole. It's wonderful.
I meet folks like you and the folks completely opposite, right? It's like,
right.
And we can work with either one, and that's completely okay. But the important point is, no matter how if you're looking at it, at the data or not looking at the data, it's smart as a business owner to be engaged with whomever you're working with. If you're working with a marketing company, to make sure that, for here, at least, we want to meet with clients on a monthly, on a quarterly basis. We want to have those communications where we can have those conversations. And so it's important to talk about that. For you, you may come at it and say, oh, well, I'm looking at this analytics data and I'm looking at this data. What do you guys think about this? And we'll be like, okay, that's great. Fantastic. Let's talk about this. We're also seeing this. We're also seeing this data, and we'll move forward based on that. And for some folks, it's just, I've been cutting lawns and I need you to help me. And
absolutely. Absolutely. They don't like the mechanic when I bring the trucks go to the mechanic. I do not want him to explain that he had to fix a lifter and this rod, the push rod. You tell me how much I owe, I'll cut you the check. I do not want to hear about the hydraulic pressure relief valve. Right. Absolutely. That's not my gig. So we all have our thing. So, I think one of the things, and we had talked about this earlier, I saw on your website, I was pretty impressed. So one of the things that your company starts off with is a free strategy session. Tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah, that's where we really first find out about your business, your whys, your what, what are your goals? What kind of revenue is the company doing? What is the new revenue goal that you have? That's an important question. You need to understand, okay, how many leads are you getting currently? How many leads are you looking to get? What are the current marketing efforts that you're doing right now? What have you done in the past? Those are a lot of the types of questions that we're asking to try to understand how we might help you. So during that free strategy session, sometimes I stumble over those 2 words back to back, but I made it through, I think there. We're learning. That's the first time we're learning about your business. and then we can go and take it a step further, and we can run some we can run like some Google grids, and I don't want to get into the weeds on stuff, but
Don't do it.
to show like rankings and to show you where you're ranking or where you're not, but all of that, and it's completely free to do that. But that's really if you're curious at all, and if you do think that you may need some help, that's available, and that's sort of like the first step in all of this.
Yeah. And as much as I love marketing and analytics and everything, I still work with professionals, because every time I talk to a marketing professional, especially someone who does analytics and data, I always learn way more. I know just enough to be curious about it, but definitely not an expert. So these free strategy sessions are going to help you no matter what level you're at. And I know your team has experience, and they kind of meet people where they're at. So they're not going to like over talk them. You guys work with all different types of trade industries, work with home providers. I know you're working with roofers, paving, landscapers, painters. So you're used to working with people in the trade. So you're used to communicating in a way that both of you guys can work together and to make a plan. So you mentioned goals, right? So goal setting is one of the most powerful tools, not only in business, but life, right? Harvard Business Review did a study over the past 50 years, and people that have goals have a 10 times higher income than people that don't have goals. And this study's five decades old, half a century. And it's interesting. And Jim Rohn, who's a motivational speaker, he's passed away now, but he was his mentor asked him to see his goals, and he said, "I don't have written down goals." And he said, "I bet you I can guess your bank balance within a couple $100." So he guessed it, and it was not a very impressive bank balance. So having goals and marketing goals and revenue goals, and it's not always revenue. For 5 years, I actually worked in my business to replace revenue, which is kind of like, what does that even mean? So we identified our highest gross profit margin work, and we replaced the highest gross profit margin work with, and we got rid of the lower gross profit margin work. So our top line revenue actually stayed the same, but it was being replaced with higher gross profit margin revenue. So we spent 5 years just replacing dollars. So at the end of 5 years, our top line revenue was the same, but our net was double. And it was because we were focused on that. So that was our marketing goal, was that. And the other thing that we did with our marketing was we identified where our best customers were, where they lived. And we were really pinpointing and marketing to more of the places where our best customers lived, right around where our best customers lived. And that's what I mean. We just can't shotgun marketing. We have to kind of pinpoint that. And that's why working with professionals and having that data is so powerful, because I was able to reduce my marketing budget by 40% and increase my customer count because I was being more strategic.
I have a couple questions for that that maybe I'll ask you offline, but that's well done. Well done.
Yeah, it was very, very powerful. It was getting frustrated. So, and that was, working with a professional. And that's why, I always am a big fan of working with professionals. And it's changed though. This was years ago that I did that. It's a new world, we're almost everything's digital now. Right. And that's what, so how did someone go about choosing the right digital marketing agency to work with?
Well, I think the first thing is, if I'm a trader home service business, if I'm doing lawn care, I'm trying to find someone. A lot of the partners that we have are local. They like that. They like that comfort level, and as well as they like the fact that we're working with people similar to them, in the trade and home service industry. Whereas a lot of our competition, that's not really a niche that they have. A lot of companies are doing this similar thing, but and obviously you can say till you're blue in the face that you have great customer service and that you're going to, that's going to set you apart from everyone else. But everyone's going to sort of say that, right?
Right.
But, we've got a smaller client base because of the niche. So we are really going to be able to focus on you a little bit better. And we've, like I said, because it's trade home services, we understand a little bit more. Like the typical marketing company that maybe is working on your website or your SEO and trying to be a little bit more of a marketer, a total marketer for you, may not really be thinking about your logos on your shirts in the field.
Right.
Because they're not thinking about the signage on your van or your truck. They might not be thinking about the door hangers. It may not, if they're a digital marketing agency.
Right.
They may not be thinking about, Dan or Susie or whatever who's answering the phones at 4:45 and their shift ends at 5 and they're a little cranky, or whatever, and how can we, they may not be thinking about, is there anyone answering the phones and how long are we taking back to get, how long are we taking to get back to them at all? But in the trade and home services industry, those are super important things in aggregate, especially, that we need to understand.
Right. So just the whole focus of the home service industry, it's a lingo, there's a vibe to it, you're in that lane all the time, so you're hanging out with that crowd all the time. It's an advantage. You're not doing car dealerships and liquor stores and wedding boutiques, and so you're always dealing with similar people that have similar goals and clients, really. I mean, if you can afford lawn care and landscaping, you can afford paving and painting, and power washing,
and it oftentimes it's a service that someone needs last second, emergency, like my HVAC example, or a roof repair,
right? Tree care, right?
Exactly. So it's dealing with that bottom of the funnel, that last, roof repair near me, or HVAC, repair near me. It's an emergency service and it's an immediate need.
Right. Yeah. So some of the things that used to work in marketing, like, and we tested them again this year just to make sure they didn't work. Every door direct mail, total fail this year. Newspaper inserts failed. Some of the things that still work really well.
Are you reading a lot of newspapers these days?
Well, there's still weekly newspapers that come out in our area,
I know.
like a weekly newspaper. But we used to do about 500,000 inserts a year.
It makes me a little sad. I miss seeing newspapers around a lot, but
they're gone, right? But there's still some weeklies, but they, people, I think they just trash them. But that used to be, radio used to be a thing, but now it's almost all digital. Referrals still big though. Referrals a big player, always will be. And so, but digital, like you said, it's big. Google, what was it? Home, what was it? Neighborhood? What was the one you mentioned a couple times? I had Steve with Green Profit Academy. I was just reading a Harvard Business Review study that showed people who have written down goals and plans make 10 times more money over a 10-year period than people who don't write their goals and plans down. And really, that's why I'm so excited to announce the Green Profit Academy Mind Your Own Business Retreat. This is going to be the third retreat we're putting on. It's going to be held in Granville, Tennessee at the Wildwood Resort and Marina. It's going to be on November 4th to November 8th. And we're going to work on not only your 1 year, but your 1 to 5 year business plan and goals. So you're going to be so far ahead of people who don't have written down goals and plans. We are doing this because we want your business to be far more successful than you ever imagined. And it all starts with goals and plans. So join us this year, November 4th to November 8th, for the Mind Your Own Business Retreat. Let's see. Come on, sign up. I'm going to put the link to sign up in the show notes. And I look forward to seeing you there. It's time to get serious about your business. Now's the time to start.
Oh, like next door.
Next door, that's big, right? Facebook's big, all these social medias. But one of the biggest ones that I have found is Google My Business, right? And we really make sure that we pay attention to Google My Business page with our updates and putting photos up there and our team, and we're certified. What's your opinion on Google My Business profile?
Yeah, I mean that's the quickest, most immediate way that you can have an impact. I mean, you've got to have that optimized. You've got to you need all your information in there, 100%, no matter what. Even if you're not, if you call me and I've had a bunch of calls from holiday lighting companies lately. It's a little bit late to get going on like what we do, full throttle from a website SEO perspective anyway, right now to make an impact for this season. Certainly the Google My Business, now certainly we can help them with that for next season. But thinking behind that is, that's not why they got in touch with me. They're trying to find a right now impact. So, yeah, well, do you have your Google My Business profile set up correctly? That's something that we can take a look at right now that needs to be optimized, and can have an immediate impact.
Right. Making sure there's pictures of your trucks, making sure there's pictures of your team, your office. And, I always let people know, make sure that every photo that you have on Google My Business has some type of branding in it. So people know what they're looking at, but make sure that is up to date with your phone number, when your office is open and closed, and making sure that, and then reviews are on that too, right? So talk about reviews a little bit. How important are reviews?
I think they're increasingly vital. I think that you should be asking for reviews if you service a client, and you should go to them and ask them if you're happy with the service, would you mind giving a Google review? Because when people go and they search and they look and they see that you've got one review, and then they see another company right down below from it that's got 500, that means a lot, and it can take some time. But if you're actively, as a marketing tactic, working on getting those reviews, again, this is a not today solution, but over time, super important solution. And then we can work with the companies on the reviews and the responses. That's the service that we can help with as well. But I think it's really vital to manage or to have those reviews there, because again, it's part of that puzzle where people are going to Google and just in the same way they're going to like the next door or whatever, where someone's like, oh yeah, call Frank at Frank's Plumbing, he does great work, and 10 people like that comment, and so you search it, and then Frank's Plumbing's got 400 5-star reviews. You're going to be like, okay, bam, let me click on his website, and hopefully his website looks decent too, and then you're going to give him a call.
Right.
But like, if one of those things doesn't fit, if you go from next door, 10 likes on that comment, and then you go to Google and there's like, even 50 2-star reviews, that may break down the whole process and end it right there. Mm-hmm. You may not make it any further than that. So in my opinion,
right,
because there's just so many competitors out there.
Right. So what's like the average number of reviews do you think that an average small business has?
That's so hard to answer. But what's more important is that they need to be high.
They need to be good reviews. All right. So it's better to have good reviews than many reviews, but reviews are even more important. And it's tough to get reviews. I'll tell you, my lawn and landscape business, we work for reviews. We have a review service. My guys hand out cards. We ask for them, and people are slow to do it. You have to hold their hand through it, it's you have to really work at it. I know Google likes at least one review a month, so you want to get at least one review a month, and that keeps kind of the page alive. So that's the goal. But it is really super important. The next thing I want to talk about is content marketing. We hear content marketing all the time. What is content marketing, and why is it so important?
Right. Well, from our perspective, we are thinking about what is the content on the site, because we're thinking about first and foremost, because then we're thinking about how does Google, and again, I don't want to get in the weeds, but the content needs to be such that Google reads it, picks it up, and then brings up the rank of the relevancy, so that you appear for those keywords where you want to appear, right? So if you focus on a bunch of content and too many services of too many things that you're not really, you don't want too much. You want to be focused on your prime services.
Right.
And then Google's going to pick up that it's all about the trust and authority. And then that leads to, higher Google rankings. So yeah, but it could be, for us, for long-term clients, it's about updating content. It's about putting in new content. It's about staying relevant. I think often about how when you look up DIY around the house, construction type of carpentry type of project, you still to this day will find Bob Vila stuff.
Oh, This Old House is so
This
it's
Old
interesting.
House.
Yeah. So in my playlist on my Google, for my YouTube though, I always throw in This Old House when I make my playlist, and it helps my YouTube because they have 1 million+ views, and it lets Google know that this video is like This Old House videos.
And they've got to be one of the oldest content producers that were around. And just the amount of content that is up for them is through the roof. And so they continue to remain super relevant. And that's the other thing about the SEO and optimizations, is that the impact is long past the immediacy of what you're doing. So again, it's like not really a short-term solution. It has long-term implications. So,
right, yeah. So content is really about having stuff, written, and you can also have video, and then with written text involved, that lets Google and other search engines know what your page is about. Right? It's like, hey, this site does these things. Here are some words that prove it, and you want it to be genuine. So it can't all be Chat GPT, and it can't all be copy and paste. Right. Google is not like that.
And it's a nice thing to let a professional marketing company have, make the decisions about what type of content, and then have content writers writing the content. We can work with you to get information from you, absolutely, and focus. What do you want to be focusing on this? But that's a big service that we provide in terms of the content. It's a big resource that we provide.
Yeah. it's better if the professionals handle it because, there's a lot of keyword searching involved and you don't want keyword stuff, which is, a thing that you'll find that, it's kind of like new landscape designers. When they first learn how to do landscape design, they learn all their plants. They want to use 35 different plants on a landscape because they want to show off their plant knowledge or they want to use too many plants, and always know when you see that new landscape with 70 different varieties of plants because they're so excited they graduated from wherever and they want to show off that knowledge. But too much is too much, right? And it's the same thing with keyword stuffing or too many services. Because we do consulting, we help businesses grow, and this one business was really struggling down in Virginia, and I looked at his website and he had snow plowing on it. And he was trying to grow lawn care. That was his main focus. And I asked him, when's the last time you did snow plowing? He goes, we did a lot. We made a lot of money in 2016. So I'm like, well, you're eating up a lot of your space on your website with the snowplow stuff. Yeah, but we made a lot of money in 2016. I'm like, but that's not a focus that you're trying to do now. And, it hasn't snowed in 7 years. So why are we doing this? But he was really reluctant and hesitant to drop that off the page. He was just using up so much content space that he could have used to grow it. But
that's where you have to be that consultative marketing partner or, a partner and just look at, maybe look at the numbers in general, maybe look at the revenue numbers. Like, how many dollars have you generated from the snow plowing so. And
it's a conversation that you have to kind of, sometimes you have to show them the numbers and force their hands, right? It's always good to get a good input because I'm sure you could look at my website and say, this is Steve, what are you doing over here? This is taking up a lot of space.
Yeah. And that's the other thing is that I think hopefully, a good client for us. And if you're taking care of your business correctly, if you're a trade home service, if you're a lawn care company, like you got to be willing to listen to your marketing partner tell you some stuff that maybe you don't want to hear, because they might have a point. So we try not to hold back.
Right.
Like, if we're going to listen to you, of course, but we're going to try to steer you in the best direction. Yeah. So, and we're going to tell you it like it is sometimes too,
Yeah. The data doesn't lie, right?
I agree.
Yep, the data doesn't lie. And even though I try to hold on to the past with my old school marketing, the data is brutal. I mean, it just is brutal. So it's brutally honest. So email marketing, is that still a thing? Does that work?
Yeah, it's still a thing. I mean, especially if you can, if you can gather, if you have information on your first party data clients and you want to send them offers, that's when it can be powerful. Hey, here's a $50 off coupon. Here, it's this time of year, it's this season, and let's take $200 off of this service, this specialized service that maybe you haven't been involved with for a while. So I think for those purposes, emailing to your own clients, with offers, I still think it makes sense.
Okay, so to your own clients, not really so these are warm emails.
That is my favorite way to use them. I mean, I receive a ton of emails from folks.
Yeah, I
think email I think email in general, just trying to win even in trying to find folks to potentially work with as partners of ours in the trade and home service business, sending cold emails is not that great a way, I think, to do it.
Right.
It's getting, and not that I've written a poor email, not that I think it's just that type of communication is evolving or devolving.
Yeah.
Not to get too deep about it, but I think
Right.
that people see so many emails and they're looking for the ones that are like actionable about their business right here, then and that, okay, this is a client I want to go out and service, or they're looking to book something. That's the kind of email you're looking for. Now you get an offer. Okay, that's something interesting. I can pay attention to that. But if it's like, hey, if it's not really relatable in the moment, I don't know how to explain it exactly, but
no, it's a cold email. If it's not something you need right then, it's kind of like if you're hungry and you get an email about pizza, it's fine. But if it's not,
like I think there's something to emailing information, in a sequence that could potentially be helpful, where you're letting them know, like, here's this, here's a free resource that can help you learn something. Nothing wrong with that. Here is data based on something that we've seen that could help informationally guide you towards better decision. And then you're not asking them for business on anything right then and there, but you're simply providing information for them. And then maybe by the fourth or fifth email, you're asking for some level of communication.
Right. Yeah. Build a little bit of relationship.
What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think cold emails are tough. I think, you have to build a little bit. I think, Gary Vee wrote that book a few years ago called Jab, Jab, Hook? You got to give before you ask. You don't want to ask too quick. If you're like, hey, here's a report or here's some information on, most of my lawn care videos are like, hey, don't seed in the spring and this is why, right? Or this is, keep your lawn clean of leaves in the fall and this is why. Or, hey, this is why we do a soil test, right? And because you don't need to lime every year if your soil pH and your calcium is high enough, don't spend your money on doing something you don't need to. We don't ever use it to say, hey, we got a sale going on. Now this is time to buy it. It's always informational and we send people, it's always that hook. Same thing with Facebook, right? We do run Facebook ads, but our Facebook page is only, it's social. It's never really, we don't actually run an ad or an offer on our official page. We'll run a separate ad for that. So yeah, I think email is good for our clients. We do run, it's time to do this. It's time to do that type of things. But we'll run we'll do our email newsletter, and it's kind of like, this is what's going on with the weather. And it's also, this is what's going on in the community. These are the events coming up, that kind of stuff. It's just a touch, but cold emails can be a little challenging unless you're going to send like 50,000 a month, and you're going to do it forever. I think if you're going to do it in a certain markets, they might work better. It might be, geographical. It might be, it might just have to be, logically kind of positioned depending on where you're at.
Yeah, no, I agree with that.
All right. Next, we're going to go on to social media. So like I just mentioned, social, how we use it might be a little bit different. We try to have a little bit of fun with it. Me and my wife make some goofy ads. I guess they are kind of ads, but they're funny. You ever see the guy he's on YouTube. He's like, or he'll be like, if you think you're going to lose weight by lifting weights, he's, don't do that. And I'm like, if you think you're going to have a nice lawn by lifting weights, and I throw the weights and my wife's behind me lifting this branch up. We make these funny ads, and people get a kick out of it. I don't know if it ever gets us ads, but people love it and it gets a lot of views.
Well, things that get a lot of views are good.
Yeah.
And, you at least need to have the social presence. It's part of the equation. It's just, there's no doubt about it. Whether or not you do want to decide how much money you want to be spending on Facebook ads, and you've got to look at the data again. But if your intention is to drive a bunch of leads from it, you've got to look at the data on that. If your intention is to build up brand awareness and you're doing something amusing and people are liking it a ton of times, then that you see value from that, then there you go. So I think it's a piece of the puzzle.
Yes, it is a piece of the puzzle. Yeah. It's not. So we've run, I'll share some data with you. We've run a lot of Facebook ads and it does not generate, we've worked with multiple marketing companies. It does not generate a ton of leads for us.
Right.
But it does generate website visits. So it does, when we run those ads, we can watch our website visits jump. They're visiting, it's creating visits to our website, but they're not responding to the Facebook ad. So we can track it day by day. So it's kind of a combination of, right, things. So they might not click on that, but they're going to something else. Same thing with some other stuff that we do. When we do our newsletter, we can watch our website spike in volume. So, it definitely drives people to that. So there's other things that you can do that are going to drive action to your website and engagement to the phones too, right? If you have tracking numbers, which I love tracking numbers. We've run some click to call ads, and that's, you can use your tracking numbers, which gives you really good data. So social media is a big part of it. Definitely you want to have a LinkedIn page for your business. I would recommend a LinkedIn page for your business. You definitely want to have a Facebook page for your business. You want to have a Instagram page for your business. We have a TikTok. I don't think we use it too much for the business, but you just want to have the basic ones. Another big part of marketing, and it's not really digital, I'll call it community, is your Chamber of Commerce. And I'm a huge fan of being a part of your Chamber of Commerce. You don't have to go to every event. Don't go for leads. Go because it's your community. It's where you live and where you do your work. Be part of your community. Join a committee. Go be part of a fundraiser. Be part of where you live. That's why we're part of the chamber. And it generates a lot of goodwill, and it does generate work. But that's kind of boots on the ground marketing that I would encourage people.
Yeah, but that you mentioned earlier how important both agreed that was an obvious thing, that referrals are so powerful. But that's where you're going to get a lot of the referrals too, is by putting yourself in a situation, if you belong to a chamber or chambers, or if you're in a networking group, additionally, where you get to know these people over time, you're going to get referrals, so that's incredibly powerful. And the return on investment on that could be fantastic. So, I think that a no-brainer almost.
Yeah. And, I always am preaching that, become part of your chamber. You don't have to go to everything. Don't go there looking for handing your card out and thinking, everyone's going to call you the day after an event and get work. We've been a member for over 30 years. You become part of the fabric of the community, and the community takes care of you.
Right. And that person that you're talking about, that person doesn't have to become your client. It could be someone that they have a conversation with a week, a month, a year later, where they're like, oh yeah, I've known Steve now for all this time, and he does, he's involved with lawn care, and call this guy, he's a really nice guy, and we've hung out so much. And, it's just that kind of thing, right?
Yeah. I think I saw a statistic that each member at the chamber event knows an average of 350 people.
Yeah, absolutely.
So there's your circle of influence. You just expanded upon, right? Very, very powerful. Well, thank you very much for this time, Ben. But one of the things, and I asked you kind of at the beginning, if I worked with your company, right, how does it feel? How would I feel? Because one of the things that I truly believe is, right, feeling seeks logic. So we do things and we're like, I have this feeling, but I then seek logic because I have to make all my feelings logical, right? So when I work with someone, I want to feel good about it. I want to feel like I'm making the best decision. I don't want buyer's remorse. And I'm not always expecting it's going to be 100% perfect, but I want to make sure that I'm, made the best decision. So I asked you, if I work with your company, how will it feel?
Yeah. Well, you're going to come into a partnership with us, understanding that we're working strategically right from the beginning. When you go to that strategy session, and we're asking you everything that there is to know about your business, okay? That we have your goals in mind, and maybe goals that you had not even been aware of or thinking about that come up, objectives, etc. And when we're working with you, we're constantly, meeting with you, trying to find, we're presenting you with transparency based on what we've done so that you understand where the efforts have gone and what the results have been. Now, you have to understand when you are working in an environment with websites, with SEO, when, of course, there's additional marketing efforts that we can put forth that are a little bit more immediate. But in general, this is a longer term thing. But we're presenting you with data and transparency that should give you a feeling of comfort, a level of comfort that we have your back and that you understand what it is that we're doing, right? And you understand the results that we're providing for you and in what time frame that you should be expecting those results to occur. So expectations are really important. The expectations should be set by us, and you should understand the expectations. And having the knowledge that that process has happened should give you a level of comfort, I think, hopefully.
So I should feel a level of comfort working because you're going to set the expectations. There's going to be transparency and there's going to be a high level of communication, right? I mean, that sounds like a winning recipe right there. So awesome.
Hope so.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, the One Thing Marketing is the name of your company, and we're going to put the contact information in the show notes. Ben, I want to thank you for joining us today. And I want to thank all our listeners for listening today. And we look forward to you joining us on the next podcast.
Thank you, Steve. Thanks very much.
Thanks for listening to the Green Profit Academy Pros Podcast,
the show that digs into the challenges of growing a lawn care and landscape business while maximizing your profit.